already. Wasn't expecting that. Hey guys, what's up? In this video, I'm going to tell you all about why getting a remote job was the key to starting my business, which doesn't, you wouldn't think at first, right? You think that getting a remote job is just you working, you trading time for money. It doesn't have anything to do with owning a business. And you're partially right, of course, if that's what you're thinking, because it is just trading time for money. But I'm going to tell you why it's a little bit more complicated than that. So give just a second for anybody who wants to get on here. Anyway, so I loved having a remote job. I'll just start with that. I love to travel. If you've been following me, I like to travel all over the place. When I had a remote job, having a remote job is one of the easiest ways that you can be able to travel, because you're getting a steady paycheck, but you're not really tied to any particular location. So you can really enjoy yourself on an American salary around the world, because if you haven't traveled a lot, you might not know, but the U.S. salaries are extremely high compared to the cost of living in most places in the world. So when I was living in Brazil, for example, I was earning a U.S. salary, a pretty good U.S. salary, and paying like a third of the cost of living to live in Brazil. Maybe not quite that little, but the cost of living compared to the cost of living in the US was a lot less. So let's say it was half. So basically what that means is that I'm effectively, like from a lifestyle point of view, by living in Brazil while earning dollars in the US, I'm doubling the amount of money that I make. I'm like increasing my salary by a factor of 2 just by living somewhere else. So that's one awesome thing. But even if you don't want to travel, if you just kind of want to stay home, it's so much better. It's so much better because you have like complete freedom. You can, if I want to just go take a walk in the middle of the day, I can do that. If I get hungry and I want to walk to my kitchen and cook some food in the middle of the workday, I can do that. If I want to, if I'm tired and I want to take a short nap, I can do that. Nobody's going to yell at me for this, right? Because I'm not in an office. I'm not with some micromanaging boss and some like petty colleagues that are going to, by the way, this happened to me back when my last office job. I remember like my boss called me in and said, I've heard reports from some of your coworkers that you're doing stuff on the computer that isn't work related. I remember that. I was so annoyed by that. It's because somebody in my office like walked by my computer and saw me doing something and decided to actually like tattle on me to my boss. I thought that was the most pathetic thing ever. So anyway, if you're working remote, obviously you don't have to deal with that, which is really nice if that's what you're used to. But yeah, you can pretty much go do whatever you want as long as you get your work done. You can't like slack off all the time. You have to get your work done. But yeah, you get to spend more time with your family. You get to miss the traffic, which was huge for me. Some people spend like an hour each way in traffic, which is horrible. So if you think about it, just there, if you spend an hour each way in traffic, then you are saving yourself 2 hours a day just by the fact that you don't have to sit in traffic. That's 2 hours a day that you're putting back into your life instead of wasting it sitting in traffic. So that's a huge benefit. Not to mention the amount of money that you're saving on gas. You probably spend like $1,000 a year, something like that, more or less, just on gas to get to and from the office. So you're giving yourself $1,000 a year raise just by working remote. So anyway, I wanted to talk about why working remote was the key for starting my business, which is based on another benefit, a hidden benefit that people don't really think of about working remote, and that is that you have a lot more time. And I told you a little bit about it because of the traffic thing, because you don't have to sit in traffic for 2 hours a day, so that gives you some more time. But in addition to that, and this is what people don't realize, if you think about when you're sitting in an office, if you have like a normal office job and you're sitting in an office for 8 hours a day, how much of that time are you actually working? Be honest. If you've had an office job and you sit there for 8 hours a day, how many of those 8 hours are you actually working? Well, my experience has been less than half. And in fact, I read an article by a bunch of researchers that decided to actually look into this. They actually, I'm not sure what they did. They put like at hidden cameras in offices or something, and figured out how much time people were actually working, because the human brain is not really wired to do solid work for 8 hours a day. It doesn't really work that way. So the hypothesis was that putting somebody in a desk for 8 hours does not mean that they're working for 8 hours. And what they found was that the average office worker was working, I think, 2 to 3 hours per day. And then the other 5 to 6 hours, they were just kind of wasting time, which if you've worked in an office, you know exactly what I mean by that, right? You just kind of sit there staring at your inbox, or you sit there staring at the clock, waiting for 5 o'clock, or you walk around the office building trying to find someone to talk to because you're so bored and you're looking for something to do with your time, or you're like scrolling through your phone and hoping your boss doesn't look. You're wasting a lot of time if you're stuck in an office. But because it's an office job, or if you work in a restaurant or you work in a store, it's the same thing. But because you are stuck in that location, in the same location as the boss, you have to at least pretend that you're working, and you have to sit there in the desk for at least 8 hours, right? Well, that disappears. That goes up in a cloud of smoke as soon as you find a remote job. You're not stuck in the office anymore. You don't have to look like you're busy. So while the regular office workers are sitting there for 8 hours and only getting 2 to 3 hours of work done, you can be at home. You can work for, let's say you work for 4 hours a day. You're getting more done than everybody who's in the office if you're getting actual work done for 4 hours a day. What about the other 4 hours? Well, you don't have to sit in the office anymore because you're at home. So you get 4 hours of your day back. I mean, you should check your emails every once in a while, because if the boss sends you an email, you don't want to ignore it. But other than that, you have half of your workday back, plus all that time you would have spent in traffic. So if you're spending 2 hours in traffic, plus you get an extra 4 hours of your workday back, that's 6 hours a day that you have to spend on doing whatever you want. And by the way, this is not slacking off. Again, the average worker is getting 2 to 3 hours of work done. You're getting 4 hours of work done. So you're blowing away everybody else at the company, and you're still only stuck at work, so to speak, for half of the time that everybody else is. That is like the far and away the biggest benefit, in my opinion, of having a remote job. And you don't really realize that until you actually do have a remote job. So when I got my first remote job, I had an office job before that, and then I got a remote job that was the same kind of work. It actually exactly the same salary. I was making $85,000 a year in the office, and then I got a job making $85,000 a year remote. So same nominal salary. And by the way, that's this job that I got was based on skills that I taught myself on the internet. Right? I didn't go to school for anything that I did. Like I taught myself. So, if you've followed my videos, I'm a big proponent of self-education. If you want to learn a profitable skill, college is not going to teach you. I mean, unless you're a doctor or a lawyer. But if you want to learn to make more money, you can learn the skills on your own. You don't need a college degree. You don't need some fancy apprenticeship program. You can just go teach yourself and practice the skills. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more later in this video, actually. So anyway, yeah, I was making $85,000 a year remote, and so I started traveling everywhere. And I met a beautiful girl who later became my wife, who's a Brazilian girl. And I went and she was a tourist in the U.S. I was at home, and I met her here, and then she could only be here for a few weeks, because she was a tourist. So I went. She invited me. We hit it off, and she invited me to stay with her in Brazil, and so I did. Why? Because I had a remote job, so I could travel wherever I wanted. So I literally owe my marriage to that remote job. But anyway, I'm going off on a kind of unrelated tangent here. But yeah, so I was working remote for about two years at that job, and so I had always wanted to start a business, right? I had kind of half-heartedly tried to start a business in the past, but I never really had much success because I was always working full time. And if I'm stuck in an office for 8 hours a day, then stuck in traffic for another 2 hours a day, then I just didn't really have much time to put into starting a business, and I definitely didn't have the energy. I mean, I remember like I would get home from work, and even though I knew I should be doing something productive, I just kind of go and sit on the couch and watch TV because I was exhausted from my workday, which seems silly because I was just sitting at a desk all day. It's funny that that would exhaust you, but it does. Like mental effort exhausts you, and then being lack of purpose, lack of fulfillment is really exhausting. Like if you want to have infinite energy, this is what I found. If you want to have energy all the time, because I was always tired when I worked a regular job. It like beat me down mentally and spiritually. If you want to have energy all the time, find something fulfilling, find something worthwhile that you really want to be doing, and that will give you energy. Anyway, so I didn't have much luck with businesses back then, with entrepreneurship, because I was spending my time and energy at a job that I didn't really care about. And so once I got the remote job, I mean, I was still spending time and energy on that job, but a lot less time and energy than I was spending before. So I had some time and energy left over to get a business started. And the first business that I tried to do, which this is a little bit embarrassing actually because it failed miserably, but I I had grown my Instagram account to like 13,000 followers, something like that, and I thought, what if I could do this for businesses? Like, I bet a lot of businesses would like if they could, if I could create an Instagram account for them and get them a whole bunch of followers. And so I decided to do that, and I tried as like a test run with a friend of mine who's a realtor, and I started an Instagram for him and started doing all the same things that had worked for growing my own Instagram account, and it totally flopped. It completely failed. Like I couldn't get Instagram followers for him to save my life. It's pretty embarrassing, but what had happened was that the Instagram had completely changed its algorithm, like right at the time when I was trying to make a business out of it. So all the stuff that I was doing for my old account, for my own account, I mean, that had worked really well, just stopped working all of a sudden because of the algorithm changed, and of course it didn't work for my friend's realtor account either. So that's kind of the nature of entrepreneurship, though, is that you kind of get a lot of misses for every hit. So anyway, but the fact is that I was able to actually put some time and effort into this, and then I had another business that was more successful, where I was creating fancy spreadsheets for people, etc. Anyway, so I would not have been able to do that, obviously, if I had not had a remote job. So I would very much recommend that if you have a regular job, or if you're used to having regular jobs, that you try to find a remote job. There are more remote jobs right now than there ever have been before. And by the way, I'm talking about a legitimate job. That's the same kind of job as you'd be working in an office, except that it's remote. I'm not talking about this pyramid schemes or those things where you like fill out surveys for 50 cents or any junk like that, or you sign up on a tutoring website and then like pray that somebody actually decides to hire you. No, it's not that. It's like full-time work, just that you're remote. So that's what I mean. And this, it's kind of outside of a lot of people's realities, but it's real. There's a lot of people that do this, and it's pretty cool. And with this whole quarantine situation, there's going to be more people than ever that are doing this. I mean, a lot of companies are being forced to let their employees work from home or work remote, which could be anywhere. And so they're having to set up the infrastructure to support their whole workforce being remote. And I believe that a lot of these companies are going to realize, they're going to say, hey, we're paying for this expensive office building, but everyone's working remote and they're still getting their work done anyway. Why are we still paying for this office building? And then they're going to stop paying for the office building. And then they're going to just let everybody work remote. And then they're also going to find that their selection of employees is a lot bigger because they let people work remote. So they're going to say, oh, well, I can hire anybody from all over the country now, instead of just having to hire people in my local area. So right now is like the golden age of remote work. Now is the best time that you could possibly get in to having a remote job. And there's a whole bunch of different options, by the way. I mean, not every industry works for remote. I mean, if you do construction, it's pretty hard to do that remote. Or if you give massages, it's hard to do that remote. But even if you haven't done something, if you're not doing something now that could be done remote, you absolutely could in the future. Remember, I told you I got an $85,000 remote job based on skills that I had taught myself on the internet. Anybody could do what I did. And this was a few years ago. So the opportunities are bigger now than they were at that time. So all you have to do is on the skills that you already have now, or the skills that you could possibly have that you could teach yourself. And so and you'd be surprised at how many different types of remote jobs there are. Some of them are, you probably might guess, right? Like IT is an obvious one, or you can do accounting or that kind of thing. But there's a ton of remote jobs for customer service. There are remote jobs for doctors and lawyers and engineers. There are remote jobs for graphic designers, for web designers, for marketers, for writers. There's just like a ton of different things that a ton of different skills that are different job positions that work remote. And if you don't have the skills now, then you can get the skills, which is why I want to offer you, I'm doing a 4-week live coaching session, a live coaching boot camp, where I show you how to find a remote job. And I don't care if you don't have a degree. I don't care if you don't have any experience, because you can learn everything that you need to know. So how this is going to work is there's going to be, every week is going to be a different part of the process. And so the first week is going to be all about how to find what's the right remote job for you. And I'm very big on kind of integrating this in your whole life plan. So I have some exercises that will help you figure out what it is that you ultimately want to be doing with your career. And then we'll help you figure out how you can fit a remote job into that. Now, I don't expect the remote job to be the end all be all of your career. Like, you get this remote job and then everything's great and you're happy and everything's wonderful from there, right? You're always going to want to work for something else. So I want to make sure that the remote job is the logical step on that path to the fulfilling kind of career that you're looking for. So if you don't know what you want, if you don't have clarity as to what kind of remote job is right for you, then the first week we'll go really, really deep into depth about that. So we'll figure out exactly what's going to work for you. And that will set the tone for the rest of the course, because now you have a point to aim at, right? A lot of people think, oh, remote job, that's nice, and then maybe shoot off a few resumes, but they're just kind of, they don't really have anything specific to aim at. So they don't work their way up there. They don't get hired. They're just frustrated, and they wonder what happened. It's like they didn't have any clarity to begin with, so of course it didn't work for them. So I'm going to help you get that clarity. Again, this is a personal coaching course, so I'm going to actually work with you personally. I'm actually going to coach you through this. Anyway, so that's the first week is all about getting clarity. Second week of the boot camp is going to be how to fill in any skills that you need. So if you, it may be that your job that you have right now would work just fine as a remote job, and that's great. That would mean that you already have all the skills. But if you need to add some skills, and almost anybody would benefit from that, even if your current job is remote-able, so to speak. So I'm going to show you how to figure out exactly which skills you need to get the target job type that you were looking for, and I'm going to tell you how to fill in those skills and how to actually learn those skills that you need so that you have everything that you need to get the remote job. Now, third week of the boot camp is going to be all about how to set up your resume and your LinkedIn profile, which your LinkedIn is basically your online resume. You'd be amazed how many people it's their full-time job to just look for candidates for jobs. And their number one resource to look for candidates for jobs is LinkedIn. So if you have a well-optimized LinkedIn profile, then you will have people contacting you, asking you if you're interested in these jobs, right? They will reach out to you, which makes it so much easier. I've gotten maybe thousands of calls from recruiters because I have a good LinkedIn profile. Anyway, and then the other side of that is, excuse me, the other side of that is your resume. So you want to have a resume that does two things. First, it gets past the HR people, because if you send in a resume, it goes to the HR people, the human resources people. They look for a few keywords, and then if they see like the basic requirements, then they pass it on to the hiring manager. So I'm going to show you how to satisfy the HR people and how to impress the hiring manager. So I'm going to show you how to get the keywords that you need to impress to satisfy the HR person, and then I'm going to show you how to impress the hiring manager, which is based on two things, right? The hiring manager cares about two things in your resume. That is, one, how much time are you going to save him? And two, how good are you going to make him look to his boss? So you want to make it look like you're super easy to train. You're not going to spend his time, and you're going to save him time because you're taking over his work. And then the second part is you're going to make him look good. So you're going to get good results. You're going to get good sales numbers, or whatever he's looking for to look good to his boss and get him raises and get him promotions, etc. So that's what you're looking to communicate in your resume. So week 3, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, including some ways that I guarantee you almost nobody else is doing. So it's get your resume put on the top of the stack immediately. And then week 4 of the boot camp, I'm going to show you how to actually apply for listed very well. Like the people in HR that are putting on the internet, that are putting the job listings, are not putting them in a way that they're easy to find. So I'm going to show you how to find the ones that are not so easy to find. I'm also going to show you how to be the first to get some of these listings, so that you, again, the whole point here is to give you that competitive edge against other people who are applying. Because let's face it, remote jobs are pretty sweet. So you're not going to be the only one applying. There's going to be other people that also want to get a remote job. I'm going to show you how to do the things that nobody else is doing so that you get your resume put on the top of the heap. And then, of course, I'm going to show you how to write a great cover letter. I'm going to show you a super cool little trick that's just a little bit of icing on the cake to, again, make your your application stand out, do something that nobody else is doing. And then I'm going to show you a little bit of how to prepare for an interview. So once you get the interview, that you get the job. So everything you need, literally, if you've wanted to get a remote job, this is it. Like this is everything in one place. It's going to be just 4 weeks. And if you've wanted to get this handled, if you've wanted to be able to have this freedom to travel, to get more than half of your day back every single day that you can put towards starting a business or whatever you want. If you want to have that freedom to just go run an errand in the middle of the day, if you want freedom to like play guitar for a few minutes in the middle of the day, like I do that all the time. If you want the freedom to go into your kitchen and cook some dinner, if you want the freedom to go take a nap, it's so much better in so many ways to have a remote job. So if you want to get this handled, then I totally recommend that you sign up for the boot camp. Now, this is something new that I'm doing. So it's not so formalized just yet, but if you are interested, this is going to start next week. So you've got a few more days to get in before it starts. If you're interested, just send me an email. My email address is chris@dominatethemarketplace.com. That's chris@dominatethemarket. Oh, I'm sorry, I gave it to you wrong. chris@dominatethemarketplace.net. So hopefully you're not sending your emails to the first one I gave you. That's chris@dominatethemarketplace.net. And the way it's going to work is each week we're going to go over a different lesson, and you're going to get a lesson module at the beginning of the week that's going to show you everything that you need to know. And then on Thursday, we're going to have a coaching call. So, and it's a small number of people, right? I'm only taking a small number of people because I don't want to have like 100 people that are all trying to ask me questions at the same time. I want to be able to give everybody like super personal, in-depth feedback on everything. So if you have questions about getting clarity, if you want me to look at your resume, I mean, I will literally help you write your resume. I'll help you write your cover letters. I'll help you figure out exactly what kind of job is right for you. I'll help you figure out how exactly you are going to fill in the skills and the experience that you might not already have, right? I'm going to walk you through every step of the process. That's, there's a lot of courses out there on various things that they kind of give you a bunch of videos and say, figure it out yourself from there. But I realize that I can't just speak to everyone's individual situation just through videos. So I give you videos for the basics, and then I'm there to actually walk you through every single step of the way so that I can analyze your individual situation, figure out exactly what you should do, what's going to make you successful. So if you're interested in that, again, send me an email, chris@dominatethemarketplace.net. And I will send you all the details. Now, I told you before, you don't need a college degree for this. Some people think I'm just gonna have to work at McDonald's my whole life unless I get a college degree. Well, let me respectfully disagree with that, because a college degree is more and more meaningless as time goes on. And in my parents' generation, like in the 70s, it was about 1/3 of people got college degrees, and generally those people were the smarter people in the world that got college degrees. And so back then, companies looked for a college degree that says that if you're have a college degree, that means you're smart. If you don't have a college degree, that means you're dumb. Fast forward to my generation, which I graduated from college about 10 years ago. So even what I'm saying is now out of date. It's gotten even more ridiculous. But in my generation, 2/3 of people went to college. So the majority of people went to college. So what does that mean? If the majority of people went to college, it means that going to college doesn't say anything about you. It says that you're normal. It says that you're average. And college curriculum has gotten dumbed down more and more and more, because now 2/3 of people are going to college and they need everybody to pass, or else they look bad. So they made the college curriculum easier, and people are graduating from college not knowing anything, not having any job skills, not being particularly smart. So as time goes on, employers are recognizing that a college degree now means next to nothing. And that was 10 years ago. Now it's even worse. Right now the colleges have gone completely upside down. And not only is the curriculum worse than it was, but the costs are skyrocketing. The cost of a college degree is just insane. So it used to be back in the 70s that you'd pay like a small amount of tuition to go to college, and it would show that you're smarter than everybody. Now it's getting more and more to the point where if you go to college, you got scammed. Right? If you go to college, it does not reflect well on you anymore. If I foresee a time when people say, "Oh, like people pity the people who go to college." You say, "Oh, you got tricked into college. I'm so sorry." I think that's where it's going, and companies are starting to recognize that, because for the last 10 years, they've been hiring people that were college graduates, thinking they would be smart, and been sorely disappointed. So college is worthless, but what is absolutely wonderful is education. When I say education, I mean real education. And more that's getting separated from formal education. Real education is real skills, real knowledge, real experience that you can use to support a company's mission. So I told you that $85,000 a year remote job that I got was purely based on skills that I taught myself on the internet. That was my real education. I went to college. I'm slightly embarrassed to admit, but none of it helped me in the workplace. It wasn't worthwhile skills. What really did it for me was learning on my own, and gaining the experience, learning the skills, which I did on the internet, and then practicing the skills. That's what taught me everything that I needed to know to get that high-paying remote job. So if you don't have a degree, don't worry about it. What you need is education. What you need is to learn the skills, and you can learn the skills with or without some fancy piece of paper hanging on your wall. And I will show you exactly how to do that. I'll also show you a cool little trick that I figured out for if you do find a job posting that a bachelor's degree is required, right? Because you do see those sometimes still. You see them a lot less than you see them in the past, but sometimes you still see them. So I've got a cool little workaround for that I think you guys will like. So don't worry if you don't have a college degree. I still highly recommend that you sign up for the boot camp. Again, send me an email, chris@dominatethemarketplace.net if you're interested. If you don't have job experience, that's something also that we can work around, right? I mean, job experience is important. And if you have job experience, it's definitely going to be easier than if you don't. However, I'm going to show you how to work around that. And then, well, I'll tell you right now. I'll give you the basic overview. There's two ways to work around that. One is to conform your old experience, where things that you've done in the past that you might think are irrelevant, you can frame in such a way that they become relevant, or that they at least look like they're relevant the way that you put it on your resume. And then the second way is that you can create your own experience. When we talked about how to gain these new skills, whenever you gain a new skill, if you want it to be solidly ingrained into your mind, you have to practice that skill. And the way that you practice can itself be experience, right? You can practice in such a way that you are building a portfolio, that you are building actual experience that you can actually put on your resume, and you can say, hey, I have this experience, and you can build a portfolio. In some cases, like if you're a computer programmer, you can build a portfolio of things that you've programmed. If you're a graphic designer, you can build a portfolio of logos you created or flyers you created, right? If you're a writer, you can build a portfolio of things that you've written, right? So you're building the skill, you're getting the practice to solidify the skill, and you are getting experience all at the same time. And if you frame it right, even though to you it's just practice, you can turn it into legitimate experience on your resume. And that's another thing I'm going to show you how to do in the boot camp. So again, if you're interested in this boot camp, which again, it's going to be me personally walking you through every step of the way to do this, send me an email, chris@dominatethemarketplace.net, and I will give you all the details. So I hope this was helpful for you. I hope I got the point across that that working a remote job is awesome, and if you want to have a business, then, and I mean, if you're already, if you're already almost there, if you already got a successful business, then obviously this video isn't for you. But if you're spending all your time and all your energy on a job that you don't like, and it's taking away all your time from a business that you could be doing, then getting a remote job is a wonderful intermediate step. Because normally you're kind of stuck between two options that both suck, right? Either you can have a job that takes all your time and all your energy, so you can't really do anything else, or you can quit your job and then be with no support, right? Then you have to go like move in your mom's basement or something, and that sucks too. So the remote job is like the perfect remedy to that, in my opinion, because you can work half the hours, but still get the same paycheck. So you have half of that time that you would have been working a job that you didn't like. Now you have that you can work on whatever you want, work on your business, or work on creating a YouTube channel if you want. That's pretty fun. I like it. You can work on writing a book, and work on learning a new instrument. You can work on learning a new language. You could just travel the world and enjoy your travels, right? Work 4 hours a day and spend the other 4 hours roaming the streets of Paris. I don't know. So again, if you're interested in having me hold you by the hand and literally take you from working a crappy desk job or a job in a restaurant or a clothing store, wherever you work, where you're tied to a location, and want me to show you every single step of the process to getting a remote job, then send me an email, chris@dominatethemarketplace.net, and we'll get you in. If there's spots available, we'll get you in before next week when the course begins. So I think that's about it for me. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat here. Let me, okay. Aniket says, if everybody starts searching for a remote job, then it will increase the difficulty level in getting a remote job, and also increases competition level in a situation like this. What do you think about it? Well, yeah, you're right. Absolutely. If everybody starts looking for remote jobs, but let me give you like some basic numbers here. From what I've seen, there's at least like 2,000 or 3,000 remote jobs being posted every single day. That's every day. So let's say in a month, what's that? Let's say 2,000 be on the safe side, times 30 days. That's 60,000 new remote jobs per month. And by the way, this is prior to this whole quarantine situation. So probably there's even more now. But so 60,000 new jobs a day. How many people do you think I'm teaching to do this? Well, I'll give you a hint. It's a lot less than 60,000, right? I told you I'm keeping these class sizes small because I want to be able to give everybody personalized attention. So let's say if I take 20 students, then there's 20 students that I'm teaching to do this, 60,000 remote jobs every month. Do you think that that's really going to be a problem? I really don't think so. But you're right, though, that if this becomes a mass movement that like everybody in the world starts trying to find remote jobs, then yes, it's going to get more difficult. Which again is why you want to get in first before everybody else figures this out. See if I can write a comment myself. Looks like not. I was gonna write my email address because it's kind of long. That's chris@dominatethemarketplace.net. Oh, by the way, I feel like I should also address this too, is that while I know that there are remote jobs around the world, my program is geared toward people in the US and Canada. Probably would also work for Europe. I'm because even though technically you could get a remote, if there's a job that's based in the US, let's say, anybody in the world could work at that job. The problem is that the US government has visa requirements for, if it's a US company, they have to hire US people. I think Canadians get an exception. Canadians can work those jobs too. But otherwise you kind of have to have a visa, or you have to have an American visa. And I know if you, let's say you live in China, right? I've seen remote jobs hosted in China. I've seen remote jobs hosted in Eastern Europe. I've seen remote jobs hosted in Brazil and Argentina and Mexico. There are remote jobs around the world. My experience is just completely with US and Canada. So I if you really want to sign up, I won't deny you, but I'm just saying that I'm not sure that if you're from outside the US and Canada, I'm not sure how relevant what I'm saying is going to be. I mean, I'm sure some of it will be relevant, but I'm not sure I could help you with every step of the process the way that I'm going to help Americans and Canadians with every step of the process. Okay, well, if there's no more questions, then I'm going to go ahead and end the video. And again, if you are interested in signing up for the bootcamp that's starting next week, send me in a email to chris@dominatethemarketplace.net, and I will tell you all the rest of the information. So have a great day, have a great weekend. I'll see you all soon.